Hello, this is Nine Ball Mountain practice video number 3 between H and M. Really two sections here, H up to K and then K up to M. H to K is very straightforward rhythmically, but the left hand is pretty involved, making sure you're playing the right notes, making sure they're in tune, and make sure you understand the fingering. There's also a lot going on musically here. There's col legno. It starts pizz at H, then col legno, then it's arco at I, which comes out of nowhere. So you got to be ready with all that. And there's a lot of hairpins and fortes and crescendos, etc. So we're going to lock all that in. You are going to make sure you can clap and count it, which should be easy. And then you're going to go through, make sure you have all the notes worked out. Check out 5 after H. Make sure that's an X1, not a 4. It looks a little bit like a 4 to me, but the first note, the C sharp, is an X1. That'll make sense relative to what's around it. You may want to, right before the col legno, you may want to change that 3 to a 2 to set up the C sharp a little better. 2 in right here, like it's a little bit smoother instead of going 1, 3, and then shift a half step to the 4. You can go 1, shift there to 2, and set up the 4 on the C sharp. All right, I recommend that for sure. I is a little tricky, so look through that. Make sure you've got the left hand worked out there, the shifting. Tell you what, let's do that, right? So just do it slowly. C sharp at I. And just first position, and then go to fourth, and then extend backward, and then ease into third. And then first position, and then you're going into fourth, extend back, and then ease into third. Technically, I think you're actually going to third position when you go to second finger on the G sharp there. And then you extend back to the F sharp, and then you ease into regular third on the D to the C sharp, or non-extended high third position. Okay, and then the rest of K is straight ahead. That's the hardest, probably most confusing left-hand spot. This col legno spot, right? So start the bar before it. We'll bow it so we can get sound here in the low F sharp. Shift a half step to A, and then you're set up for the 4 to 2. Then second position, shift to third position, stay there. Now shift into high fourth, and then you're where we just were. All right, that's a little awkward as well. Okay, let's pluck and count. Here we go. Letter H. So 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 2 and 1 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 and 2 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 2 1 and 2 and 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 okay, so that's that. Not easy. I'll tell you, make sure those A sharps sorry, those A sharps after I, 2 and I think probably 6 after I, make sure you get those, we're going to call them accents. I mean, just lean in a little on those and then come away. They could also be little mini diminuendos, but I think they're a little more just let them kind of give them a little extra oomph and pull back on those. All right, let's hover bow and count through it. Letter H. So 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and two, and one, 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 and then you're at K. Down bow before K, 1, 2, 3.5 before. Make sure you mark a down bow on that C sharp. Same thing in the spot probably 8 before K on the mezzo forte. Well, that's marked down bow, but the next one is also a down bow. And again, just making sure everything musically on the page is happening. Okay, we're gonna bow through H to M at the end straight of this video. So let's go on to K. K sets us up here with some rhythmic challenges, some fingering challenges as well. This is got some stuff to it. So rhythmically, let's break this down. Third bar of K, right? Each of those gestures, figure out how to clap and count that, right? So, and all I want you to say in these measures, I mean, you could do 1 E and a, 2 E and a, or you could even just do 1 and 2 and. I recommend the 1 and 2 and because it just, each gesture is one of those syllables, right? So 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. If you say the E, 1 E and a, 2, 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 1. It's actually important you could do that first, and then you lose the E and the a. It goes from 1 E and a to 1 and 1 and. That's kind of a bigger picture feel that you want to get to eventually with that. But make sure you can clap and count that, and that you're comfortable with it. Let's look at, notice this, there is a tempo change. K is in that più sostenuto tempo from H, slower, and then L, it picks back up, that allegro feroce. So make sure that you're aware of that. You're practicing it with a metronome, you're not going to be doing that, but again, I'm just going to bring back that whole thing. Make sure you're playing with, that you're listening to the recordings, following your part, and sometimes even playing with those recordings to get a real sense for the feel and the tempo shifts, because there are many in this piece. Okay, so that's a rhythmic thing. Left hand wise, it's straight ahead until right at the bottom of the second page, and then into the third page. So let's look through that. We're going to change the fingering on the page. Okay, so here it is slowly. I'm going to show you the fingering is. Now you go. And here, you just shift back a half step into first position extension. For that. And then you go to third position. So you mark this in. Let's do it again. So from the F sharp, the mezzo forte, 3, 4, now 4, 3, and then shift. Dash 4, 2, 2, 1, and then third position, 4, 2, 1. And there's a couple reasons why we're going to the third position there instead of staying in first position. It'll come up in the next excerpt at N in the next video. But let's get really good at that fingering. It's tricky and it takes time to settle in. So we set a metronome and we practice it. Let's go down all the way down. Really, we should be about, let's do about 76 to the chord note here. Okay? So together, 1 and 2 and. Let's do it a few times. Getting the music in the bow as the left hand solidifies. Let the phrase taper. Let the phrase go. Make sure that shift doesn't get an accent, the one to the E. It's really easy to do that. One more time. Again, let this come to life musically before the tempo shifts. Okay, that's 76. I'm going to microwave this process. You're going to have to pause this and just work it up one notch at a time. Let's go up to 88. Same idea. Again. Okay, let's go up another few notches. Again, you should be doing one notch at a time, but just to save time, let's go up to 104, and then we'll go down to the half note. So 1, 2. Again. Again, weave the music into it. So let's go 52. Now we're going to half note at 63. Let's just do 66 because that's where we were. So 1 and okay, just getting that in your fingers, in your bow. The shape of it, phrase-wise, is really important. It comes up again right before M. Now, there's one thing to figure out the rhythm of third bar of K and all the corresponding spots, L and da-da-da, da-da-da. That ultimately just becomes a gesture. It becomes with, if you're sitting at 92, which it gets to at L, right? It becomes, if you just practice the first note of each grouping, that's what you get, right? Real short. And then it becomes this. It's like, just leave the note and return to it as quickly as possible. So ultimately that's what it becomes. But again, like everything in this piece, and in any piece of music, you need to understand the rhythm, you need to be able to do it accurately, and then you kind of get the feel for the gesture and what the composer, or in this case, the arranger, Rimsky-Korsakov, is asking you to do. So keep all that in mind as we do this. Let's bring this tempo down to... to pluck and count this, it's going to have to be real slow. Let's see what happens if we pluck and count this at like 44. It's still really fast. So let's do it to the quarter note, just so we make sure we understand the rhythm. Let's do it about 72. So this is K. Just for a little bit we're going to do this to make sure we understand this rhythm. So K, third bar K, 3, 4. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1. Okay, so now we're going to take out all the syllables and we're just going to do 1 and 2 and we're going to kind of count it in 2 even though the metronome's clicking in 4, right? So each gesture gets a syllable. 1 and 2 and 1 and maybe we bring that up to 84 to the quarter note. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. All right, now we go to L with this because there's more and we need to make sure it all fits together. So here's L. 1 and 2 and 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 1 and 2, etc. It goes on, and it's the same passage. So make sure you can do that. Practice that on your own, and then come back and do it with me. Make sure you have that locked in. Okay? Now, we're going to hover bow and count through it. So let's go to this half note equals 66 and see if we can do that. So this is K. So 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1, 2, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, 1 and 2 and 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 1 and 2, 1, 2, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. Okay, so there's a lot going on there, and you want to practice that. You can slow it down a little, get the music in your bow, and then you put it together. through that lens. All right, so I'm just going to do a run through. This is H all the way to M. Here we go. This is pizzicato at H. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1, 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. I'm going to go back to H. I missed the collegno. Here we go. Sorry, my fault. H, 1 and 2 and 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 oh man, sorry. Whew. Let's go right from I. Sorry, I shifted early. 1 and I and okay. Whew. Yeah, there's a lot to that. I had a couple mistakes. I think what happened at I was so worried about getting the accent in and making sure that was going to come together that I missed the shift back to the A sharp. So you just want to make sure that happens. And then, at K, you got to switch fingers, right? So you're on 3 with that C sharp. And then as you stagger the bow change, replace 1 because you don't want to be on 3 to 4 there. You want to be to get that. The 1 to 2 is much stronger pair of fingers to pull that off. All right, I think that covers us. That's not an easy section. The next one kind of takes off where that one left off. Takes over where that one left off, but we'll see that in part 4. Okay, bye.